Hello everybody, this is the part 4 of solving the Kaplan exam kit. In the previous 3 parts, we have done these chapters which I have marked. In this video, we will be solving fraud, fraudulent behavior and their prevention in business, leadership management and supervision, recruitment and selection of employees, individual group and team behavior, motivating individuals and groups. So these are the chapters which we will be solving today. So before watching this video, make sure that you have solved the exam kit of the previous chapters. If not, I have given the link of the playlist in the description box below. Make sure that you solve them first. Also, if you want to watch the chapter explanation videos, I have even linked that playlist in the description box below. Okay, so let's start with fraud. And okay, so which of the following are considered to be the three prerequisites of for fraud to occur? Requisite. So which of the four are considered to be motivation and opportunity? You remember the third, this was the third prerequisite, if you can recall, dishonesty. So the employee needs to be motivated, the employee must be having that opportunity, and the employee must be dishonest in order to commit a fraud. Which of the following is a skimming fraud? A large amount is skimmed off the top of a large sales invoice as a kickback to the purchaser. Small amounts are diverted from large number of transactions. Yes. So if you can recall what skimming was that when there are many large transactions, you're taking out little from every big transaction. Teaming and leading is used to describe which of the following? A fraud where money flows are so substantial that diversion of large sums can go unnoticed. A fraud where purchase ledger payments are misdirected. A personal expenses fraud involving fictitious expense vouchers. A fraud where receipts from, yes, you remember the debtors one, right? So it is obviously the receipts, they are getting misappropriated. Window dressing involves which of the following? Producing an overly detailed set of annual accounts in years when underlying results are poor. So the answer of 213 is obviously the transactions are often reversed out after the year end, right? Entering into transactions just before year end that will improve the appearance of the accounts but will be reversed soon after. Sales are made just before the year end, subjected of inflated invoices, which are corrected by the issue of credit notes in the year. So, producing an overly detailed set of accounts that makes no sense. Entering into transaction that will improve the appearance. Now, that is something which is related to window dressing. Off balance sheet accounting refers to a focus on income and expenditure rather to the detriment of asset and liability management, removal of business assets by employees for their own use, diversion of assets from balance sheet to a personal bank account, deliberate exclusion of certain assets from the published balance sheet. Okay, so what do you think should be the answer? The answer is D. So, in this question, we're talking about off balance sheet accounting, which means deliberately excluding some assets and liabilities from the published balance sheet. An example is a 2-year lease of a building. Under current accounting practices, we do not have to show the assets or the related obligation to pay the rental amounts on the balance sheet. However, we have to use the asset and a contractual obligation to pay the rentals. So, off balance sheet accounting is that. Consider the following two statements. A comprehensive system of control will eliminate all fraud and error. That's not true. Employees working in departments other than accounts have no responsibility for reporting fraud. Even that's not true. So the answer is neither. If an external auditor in the process of considering the company's financial statement came across an incident of fraud that took place in the year, he or she must qualify the accounts, report to the shareholders, qualify the accounts, report to the shareholders by a way of note of accounts, but only if the fraud is material, rig by a note of accounts, regardless of the size of the fraud. Qualify the accounts only if the fraud is material and not properly recorded in the. So the answer is C. The auditor's primary concern is to establish whether the accounts give a true and fair view. Only if the incident of fraud was material in value and it is not probably properly rectified in the financial statement would the auditors need to qualify the financial statement. Which of the following behaviors is often associated with an employee possibly committing a fraud? Manager and staff having monthly meetings, employee frequently taking off time, a member of the finance team frequently buying new expensive cars, member of HR team keeping. So the answer of 217 is obviously C. Which of the following is not a control or procedure required by standard money laundering legislation? Identification of large or unusual transactions, taking steps to ensure that the customers can be identified, reporting of all large and unusual transactions, creation of the role of a nominated officer. So, the nominated officer is responsible for investigating any large or unusual transactions. They would not only be reported to the appropriate authorities if there were sufficient grounds of suspicions. Money laundering legislation covers illegally obtained cash such as short-term investments and bonds. That's not true because money laundering legislation can be applied to any assets which are obtained by the criminals. Under typical money laundering legislation, the main offences recognized are placement, layering, and integration. False, because the offences are failure to report and tipping off. Placement, layering, and integration are the activities which are these are the activities of the money laundering. However, offences are not reporting and not tipping off. Lack of control over which of the following activities can lead to the fraudulent activity, teaming and larding. Non-current asset register, budgetary system, inventory management, sales ledger and receipts. Obviously D. Leo has been offering investors in his company 15% per annum return on their investment. In order to fund this return, Leo has been using money raised from newer investors to pay. So this is nothing but the Ponzi scheme. BNG has recently discovered that it has been the victim of a false billing fraud. Which of the following controls should BNG put in place to prevent this from occurring? So the answer is C. Adair's action-centered leadership model can be considered to be which part of the following schools of thought? So if you can recall, Adair talked about the group needs and everything. So this is the contingency school. Harry is a manager at GHF Co. He does not get on well with the employees who report him and has little real power to punish or reward the staff for their close behavior. He does not get on well. So what do you think he needs to do? He needs to be psychologically close or psychologically distant. What do you think should be the answer? Harry is a manager at the GHF company. He does not get on well with the employees who report to him and he has little power to punish or reward the staff for their behavior. Which of the following? So since he's not good to deal with people, he needs to be psychologically distant. Helena is planning on introducing a new IT system into her business. Helen knows that the new system will be complex to use, but has only told her staff that the system will make the certain tasks more accurate. She has not mentioned that this is significant retraining required by the staff, as she feels that this will cause resistance in the new system. Which approach is she adopting? So, what is Helena adopting? Helena is adopting manipulation and co-option. Why? Because she told them about the good things, but she did not talk about the bad things. She only spoke about the good things, which means this is manipulation and co-option. According to Hayfields, leader may simply emerge rather than. So this is nothing but what Hayfields said. If you can recall, he spoke about the dispersed leadership. Responsibility can be delegated by management as long as they also delegate sufficient authority. Is this true or is this false? See, what we have always seen that authority can be delegated, but responsibility can never be delegated. Management is the effective use and coordination of business resources in order to achieve key objectives with maximum efficiency. That is true because this is the definition of management. The main role of a supervisor is best described as a negotiator of industrial relations, someone to ensure specific interface between junior managers and senior managers. So the definition is that supervisor is primarily concerned with planning and maintaining the group. So the answer of what a supervisor is that someone to ensure the specified tasks are performed correctly and efficiently. KGA company manufactures motorbikes. Which of the following statements is consistent with Taylor's theory of scientific management? Okay, something which is related to Taylor. That is the scientific way of management, which means that there's one best way to do everything. Giving you a minute, try to find the answer. Yes, so if you can recall what scientific management was, what was said by Taylor, then we know that the answer is obviously D, where the managers are the people who are responsible for all the work, and the manager should make all key decisions and provide instructions to the workers. Which of these steps aimed at increasing job satisfaction could be attributed to the findings of the Human Relation School? What do you think the answer is? So the answer is A, because the Human Relations School given by Elton Mayo was just talking about the fact that we need human relations and we need to see how we are related to people, and that's what really matters in an organization. Contingency theorists believe that effective management is primarily a function of successful people management. Organizational achievement is largely contingent upon economic lessons of earlier theories should be adopted. Major change is dependent primarily upon clarity and communication. So, what do you think was related to the contingency theory? Contingency theory do not ignore the lessons which are learned from other, and they adapt them. So, that is what contingency theory spoke about. Contingency theory spoke about the fact that we need to take lessons from what the past and the history and our ancestors had learned. Which of the following are the three main categories used by Mintzberg to group the 10 skills: interpersonal, informational, and decisional? 1, 2, and 3. That is C. Fayol defined authority as authority, right to give orders, power to exact obedience, ability for the force to follow others, ability to delegate responsibility. So, what has Fayol given? Fayol said that authority is the right to give orders and power to exact obedience. The senior management of GFD company feel that their main role within the business is to ensure that all employees are working towards achieving the company's goals. Everyone is coordinating to achieve the company's goals, right? So, what is the answer? It is coordinating. A manager is planning on introducing a new computer system into her department. She plans to offer her staff bonuses to encourage them to use the new system as well as relying on her own personal charisma. So, what do you think the answer is here? So, she is talking about the fact of being, kind of giving a reward to them. That is one thing. And after that, she is also focusing on the fact that reference. Why? Because she is believing in her own personal charisma. She is believing in her own personal charisma. Legitimate means somebody who's already at a bigger place. But what does referent mean? That you feel like you are inspiring other people. In the context of Blake and Moulton's grid, a manager in the top left hand corner of the grid, 1 9, would fall under what? So, what was 1 9? 1 9 means that the concern for task is 1 and the concern for people is a lot. So, that means it is a country club. If you can recall, this is a country club. Christina is planning to introduce a new IT system within her department but is unsure about which system to purchase. She has asked the junior staff within the department to give her their opinions. However, Christina retains the final say in which system is to be purchased. So, which means she consults them but she takes the decision by herself. If the decision was taken by them, then it would have been Joins. Consider the following two statements. According to Bennis, transactional leaders offer rewards to their followers in exchange for their compliance. That's not really true, or is it true? Let's recall it. First, let's read the second statement. Contingency theory of management suggests that certain leadership approaches can be learned and used by the managers. Okay, so if you can recall statement 2, which we saw, which means contingency theory of management suggests that certain leadership can approach and can be learned, and something we can learn, something new we can learn, that is said in the style theories. Learning from the past people, that is said in the contingency theory, but something we can learn right now, it is learning a style. So that's not true. According to Bennis, transactional leaders offer rewards to their followers in order to their compliance. That's right. It's not transformational. They said that transactional leaders do this. So that is also true. Okay. Just a second. Okay. So now we have recruitment and selection of employees. So let's begin with that. Yeah. Which of the following is not likely to be the cause by poor recruitment and selection? Increased motivation, wasted management time, increased advertising cost, reduced product or service quality. Obviously, motivation has nothing which is related to this. When an organization needs to recruit for a specific skill, applicants are likely to be best reached through what? If you need a specific skill, then obviously you need to approach them through some professional journals. A document containing the skills and knowledge expected of staff occupying a certain position is referred to as the personal specification. So you need something which is expected from the staff, so that is a personal specification. Consider the following statements. Recruitment consultants are often particularly useful when it comes to identifying which of the shortlisted candidates should get the job. That's not true. That is something which is done by the selection process. A selection interview not only aims to help choose the best person for the job but also boosts the company's image by making the candidates feel that they have been treated fairly in the selection process. Okay, so only the second one is correct. According to Roger's 7 point plan, which aspect of person specification is Andrew focusing on? Andrew is about to start attempting to recruit a new member of staff for his department. He is currently creating a person specification and has identified that the successful candidate needs to be able to work a number of evenings and weekends. So, what do you think that is related? Okay, so that would be something which is related to a particular circumstances. A business has a job vacancy that it needs to fill, but it is unsure of whether to recruit externally or internally. Which of the following statements regarding this decision is correct? External recruitment is likely to improve motivation for the existing workers. Internal recruitment may help the company to obtain specialist skills. External recruitment reduces the need for expensive or time consuming induction. External recruitment is likely to cost more than an internal recruitment. So, the only point which is true is the D. Assessment centers involve candidates being observed and evaluated by trained assessors as they had given a selection of pre programmed exercises or trials. Okay, that's correct. Psychometric tests examine psychological, even that is also correct. So the answer will be C. The concept of diversity embodies the belief that people should be valued due to the differing lengths of time they have worked, encouraged to develop the cultural activities, encouraged to adopt the way of life, valued for their difference and variety. Okay. So, what would be the answer? The answer would be D. In the context of diversity, what should management seek to achieve in relation to its operational environment? Equal opportunities for all staff or nothing? The operation is not relevant to diversity. A workforce that is representative of that environment, active participation of staff. Okay, so some organizations set themselves goals and the representations of certain groups to address something. That what is expected is that we speak about the representation, which means a workforce that is representative of the environment. We need that sort of a workforce which is representative by the environment. A business has advertised for a new employee and has stated that they must be willing to work between the hours of 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. So, what type of discrimination could this be? So, this is something which is straight in head or not straight in the head. So, we need them to be working for 3 p.m. to be 6 p.m. Okay, so when you already have a person and you discriminate on some basis, that is known as direct discrimination. But indirect discrimination means that it might disadvantage certain groups. Like direct discrimination is something which may discriminate everybody, every single person, but indirect discrimination is something which kind of discriminates certain things. So the answer is B. Positive discrimination is encouraged by law when it relates to hiring of minority groups. Positive discrimination is typically illegal, even though it's kind of, Which of the followings are typical differences between diversity and equal opportunities? Equal opportunities is usually voluntary rather than being legally required. No. Diversity is normally driven by the desire to increase productivity. Equal opportunities is reactive, While diversity is proactive, diversity tends to go further than equal opportunities and appreciates the differences. Okay, so the answer would be 2, 3, and 4. Equal opportunities is reactive and diversity is proactive. So the answer is 2, 3, and 4. When many candidates need to be assessed at the same time using a variety of interacting techniques, the company would be using the assessment centers. Miguel is planning to resign and implement an equal opportunities policy within his business, which of the following would not be involved in an organization establishing an internal equal opportunities policy? Communication of equal opportunity, creation of the role of equal opportunities manager, ensuring that preferences given from minority involve members of the minority groups in the policy creation. So, ensuring that preference is given to hiring, that has nothing to do with that. I mean, this is positive discrimination. So, in hiring, when you think about hiring, that is something which comes under the positive discrimination, which is not permitted in many of the legislations. Amit started his new job on Monday and has been informed his first day will include a series of meeting, a tour. So, what is that? That is nothing but induction. First day is always an induction. Individual, group, and team behavior. When checking sales records of the company, a junior member of the staff uncovered suspicious irregularity in the way the transactions have been processed. This would need more time to be investigated properly. So, what do you think this is? This is a role conflict. Why? Because the audit manager is stressing the need to meet the tight deadline for completion. So, role conflict means a situation where there is a clash between roles, such as the role of the employee and the role of a good auditor. This is not ambiguity. Here, if the stress part wasn't mentioned, we would have thought it was ambiguity. Waiters in a restaurant have been told that they have to wear black suits and bow ties that can be easily identified by the customers. So, what is that? That is something which is related to the role sign so that we're able to identify them clearly. Assertive behavior often leads to a conflict within an organization. That is not true. Assertive is being nice. Individuals usually join informal groups on a voluntary basis. That's right, for meeting their social needs. Which of the following statements is correct with regards to the differences between individuals and teams? Teams tend to enjoy synergies which cannot be uh, achieved by individual workers. I think we can go with that. A manager in a business has discovered that several of his employees meet after the work to socialize. Which of the following features would indicate that these employees are a group rather than a team? So they don't. What would be the answer here? It would be D. Which of the following includes three of the roles Belvin suggested that the groups need? Okay, so if you wanted to talk about what Belbin said, then we would be going with A, leader, shaper, and plant. Match the following team roles with the appropriate personality. Sarah is a very quiet person. She often reserves her opinion to herself and she's creative. So Sarah is a plant. So answer should be either B or C. Now let's go further. Jim is respected by all team members for his analytical skills, though he rarely gets invited to out of private parties as many find him tactless. Esther is the company's HR manager. She ensures that any potential conflicts are promptly identified and resolved and the team workers can work harmoniously. So Esther is just concerned with how the team is being. So she is a team worker. So it's again B or C. So, okay. Now we know that Jim is someone who has analytical skills, but people find him tactless. So, what do you think this should go with? So, this would go with C because people find him tactless because he evaluates and criticizes. Which is the stage of team development during which the effectiveness of work will be at the lowest point according to Tuckman? So, forming, storming, norming, forming, performing. What comes after performing? After performing, you have the dorming stage, but then here they think that storming is a place where you all just keep fighting and figuring things out so work doesn't get done. The fifth stage is nothing but dorming. We know what dorming is, right? Oops. Jana manages a team. Just a second. Jana manages a team of workers within her department. She has recently sat in on a team meeting during which the team had discussing which roles each member should take on. So, after storming, that is something where we have which would go with B, which is norming. An investment bank has created a team of employees to look at potential new investment. One of the bank's senior managers has told the team that they will be assessed on their performance as a group. Which of the following is not a possible risk to the bank? So the answer would be, so the answer of this question would obviously be the group may have diverse backgrounds from within the bank. So this might be an advantage to them because they will be able to give a wider view of ideas. So all this is a risk to them, but this is not a risk, this is an advantage to them, right? Okay. Louis is a member of a project team. His colleagues in the team rely on him to read and check the complex project documentation. Louis has a keen eye for detail and often identified minor details in the documents. Despite this diligent approach, Louis always meets his deadlines. However, some of Louis feels frustrated when he refuses to involve others. He can hold up progress as he will not agree until the concerns are fully discussed. So, what do you think that Louise is? Louise always meets his deadlines, which means he is a completer, finisher. Which two of the following are key aspects of successful teams as defined by Peters and Waterman? Team should be relatively small. Members of team should be volition. Successful teams could be they should be formal, well structured communication. Okay. So team should be relatively small and the membership should be voluntary. Team should be small in size and the membership must be voluntary. This was given by Peters and Waterman. Motivating individuals and group. Fimble Company is a large organization with a range of incentives available to motivate and improve the performance of its staff. Which of the following incentives will be most appropriate for the staff working in the HR department? Commission, be a bonus for each unit they produce, profit sharing, productivity plan. So, what do you think could be the best thing for a person who is working in the HR? So it is very difficult to kind of quantify the work of the HR, right? So they have a significant influence on the income of the company, but then we don't really know for sure if we have to give them commission on based on the work what they have done, because it's very difficult to quantify. So we can however share the profits with them. According to Herzberg, offering employees career progression and status increase within the organization with help their motivation. So that is true. Herzberg said that career progression and the status increase will act as a motivator. Motivation refers to how hard you are willing to work, while satisfaction refers to the contentment of job, right? Consider the following statements. Content theory's focus manages attention of the calculation process that takes place when people decide whether certain rewards are worthwhile. Um, Process theories assume all people are the same, therefore, a standard set of incentives could be applied to meet the staff. Okay, so now this is something which is like the opposite. This is process theory and this is content theory. Content theory assumes that all people are the same, whereas process theory assumes that everybody is different. So, neither of them are correct. So, you know that content theories are those theories which focus on the fact that everyone has the same needs, while the process theories focus that everyone has different needs. Which of the following would best fit into Maslow's ego category? Loss of one's home, winning an employee of the month prize, challenging work, regular staff, parties. So this is obviously winning an employee month prize. Match the following statements with the level of Maslow's hierarchy needs. A has been offered a large pay rise in recognition of his hard work on several recent projects. So the first one is ego. B has been offered a permanent contract with the business, giving her access to good pension scheme. So that is something which is related to the security. C has been offered her first job. The pay she receives will be sufficient. So this is something which is related to the basic stuff. So the answer which we have discussed is C. Anna manages a junior employee who has been performing very well in his job. Anna wishes to motivate him and has decided to offer him a greater level of responsibility. So, a greater level of responsibility would be C, which is job enrichment. If you believe that you have theory Y workers, which two of the following should a manager adopt? So, theory Y is where everybody is happy with the job and everybody is working properly. So, that would be where you need to use a participator style and emphasis on employee development. According to Douglas McGregor, theory X people are motivated by what? So, theory X people are motivated by only money and security. The absence of certain job features will reduce employee satisfaction. However, their presence will not result in positive motivation. So, this is something which is related to the B part, which is Herzberg's hygiene factors. Room believes that people will be motivated to do things and reach a certain goal if they believe that reward they receive will be valuable and they can see what they will do to help them in achieving it. So you remember what Room told us, right? What did Room say? That force is equal to valence into expectancy. If you can recall what Room has said. So this would be D. Which of the two are examples of content theories of motivation? Maslow's hierarchy of need, Herzberg's two-factor theory, Kolb's experiential theory, and Room's expectation theory. So, what is related to the example of content theory? You remember what content theory was? Content theory states that everyone has the same needs, which is Maslow and Herzberg, which is 1 and 3, so that is D. Which one of the following is consistent with the ego level? Ego. So what is related to ego? So it is C. You know that a job title would be related to ego. However, sense of accomplishment and challenging job would be related to the self-fulfillment, and job security is the basic needs security. If a business operates a piecework system where employees are paid for each unit they produce, it means that employees will need to encouraged to ensure that the quality of their work is high. Okay, that is true. Piecework means that employees are paid for each unit they produce. The pay system will therefore encourage them to do the work more quickly and in a good way. So that's it, we're done with these chapters. In the next final video of the section A of the Kaplan exam kit, we'll be discussing the questions of the left chapters, which are the 4 chapters, and after that we'll be also focusing and doing the section B part in the exam kit. So section B is something which speaks about the multitask questions. So we'll also be doing this of all the chapters after the completing the remaining objective questions. And I would request you all to watch all the chapter explanations videos, and as well as watch the videos whichever you have missed, in which I'm explaining the study text. So the playlist of everything is given in the description box below. There are two playlists, one for the chapter explanation, which is the study text, and other is the exam kit solutions playlist. Thank you.